It's showtime.
Down to business. I got my wild cherry Diet Pepsi, and I got my blackjack gum here, and I got that feeling. Yeah, that familiar feeling that something rank is going down out there.
Worrying about ghosts and goblins.
Gutter.
The gutter. The gutter. It's a nice sound.
Gutter. Gutter.
Really need you. Arcane is bad for sure. Come on, fight for right.
And if you can't believe it, it's a Friday once again.
How can you close me up? On what ground?
I'm shocked to find that gambling is going on in here.
You're winning, sir.
Oh, thank you very much. Everybody out at once.
Picture, if you will, a mansion with a memory, one that remembers those who has passed through its doors, their lives and stories. Such a mansion, its corridors sighing with the breath of forgotten sinners, its floors creaking at the thought of droplets of sweat from the regrets of those who thought they could cheat fate. Tonight, let us step into that mansion ourselves, not as guests, but as witnesses of the stories that it speaks. In the parlor, a man of science burns for the birth of discovery, only to find resurrection a crueler flame than death. In the sitting room, a condemned soul proves that vengeance can outlast a heartbeat. Down that shadowed hallway, greed uncoils its golden tongue, promising eternity in exchange for flesh. And on the back porch, rocking slowly as the sun falls past the horizon, an old man opens his door to a knock that he never should have answered. These are not tales of monsters beneath the bed. They are reflections of the monsters inside of us: envy, wrath, arrogance, and the soft, seductive whisper of the promise of power. Every story here is a mirror held too close to the face, showing what's left when the lights go out and the human soul stops pretending it's civilized. So settle in, the hour grows late, and the mansion, nay, the house, has been waiting a very long time to be heard again. Welcome to the gutter. Everyone ends up here eventually. It is only a matter of time. I am your host, as always, Aldist, and although he missed the show this week, he has returned to join us on the gutter. JP, how are we doing?
Oh, good, man. I dare I say, I think this might be one of my favorite of our annual traditions, our yearly delving into scary story anthologies. You know, it's not unlike a Chinese buffet in that it won't really blow your mind, but you'll find enough to get you there.
Yes, and especially the last two that we've done are relatively modern. Of course, we started off with a TKO book that was neither one of us really enjoyed. It was kind of a miss. Followed it up with the first issue of Hellraiser last week that introduced John Constantine to his own run that we both kind of appreciated, I thought. And now we're delving back into the classics. And when I say the classics, we will be doing House of Secrets, issue 92, which is a grail. And we'll get into that a little bit of what makes it a grail and why we're calling it that. But in the meantime, let me turn to the chat a little bit and greet who we've got joining us. Scrolling up to the top, we've got Mr. Von Stugel says, blasphemers. Awesome one has joined us. He says, dude. And Henry Bemis, yes, this book is pricey, one of my grails, and I've never owned a copy. So I guess since he mentioned it, we're going to pause the greeting everybody, and I'll just dive into this at the moment. So this is the cover for House of Secrets 92. This is from July of 1971. This book, in low reader grade, will run you almost $1,000.
Wow.
In higher grades, up around like a 5 to a 6, un-CGC, unslabbed, you're looking at several $1,000s. Anything over a 7 of this and CGC slabbed, I've seen go for almost 10. 9s go for 15 to 20. This is an exceptionally expensive book, one of the more expensive that we've ever looked at here on the gutter. It is considered a grail book. It's very, very highly collectible. It has also been, because of that, it's been included in numerous collections. So while I have posted one in the description here, if you want to go to Amazon and buy it, I don't recommend it. There's better ones out there. It's just the only one I could find on short notice. But it's in multiple because this is the first appearance of Swamp Thing, story by Lynn Wein, art by Bernie Wrightson. It's in a lot of Swamp Thing collections. It's in a lot of House of Secrets collections. It's in a lot of House of Secrets and House of Mystery collections. You can get it in numerous places. It's also readily available online. It is a very, very famous issue. Not necessarily for any other reason other than its first appearance of Swamp Thing.
A key?
Yeah, none of the stories are really like going to blow you away. As we'll get into it, they're all great, they're all fun, but they're not going to blow you away. And since I'm on a sidebar anyway, I also want to say that happy birthday to the departed Jerry Siegel, co-creator of Superman. He was born on this date on October 17th in 1914, and he sadly left to join his creator on January 28th of 1996 at the age of 81. This picture is from 1944 during his service in the United States Army. After the war, he was honorably discharged with the rank of technician 4th grade. So obviously, co-creator of Superman, we all owe him a eternal gratitude of thanks.
Wow, we couldn't get past the 4th grade?
Yeah, he never made it to 5th grade technician.
Okay.
To his eternal shame, I'm sure. But yeah, let me turn back to the chat and finish up that greeting. We've got Citizen Ronan. He says, around the corner into the alley, I ran into a sad sack down on his luck. Man thing, he muttered, but I paid him no mind. I made my way along and reflected on what the gutter can do to a man's brain. That man obviously was Snugs, who's also joined us. Welcome, Snugs. And that intro was dedicated to you. I had no idea that there was a cartoon Swamp Thing show that had a song theme that was tuned to Wild Thing, but I could think of nothing better than to put with tonight's mini intro for just you and you alone. Mr. Von Stugel says, ew, pumpkin spice. Yes, we are in the midst of our pumpkin spice season. Every October here on the gutter, we do pumpkin spice, and we turn our attention not just to great stories or fun stories or books that we'd like to talk about, but specifically scary, spooky stories. And tonight's selection is no different. So thank you for joining us. What else we got? Scrolling down. Snug says, what? Swamp Thing is freaking gay. I don't think so, Snugs. I think you're thinking of Man Thing. Just what I'm saying, though. Phil's joined us. Great to see Zaid Comics. Greetings, gents. Well, greetings, Phil. Make sure you go check out The Man with No Strings over at zaidcomics.com. I believe his bundles are ending soon for that book, so go check it out. Hojo says, good evening. Then he says, go Satan. The whiskey couldn't keep me away from this one. Well, good to see you, man. Sorry to hear that you're rooting for the devil, but such is life. Everybody's got their own path.
Yeah, we had a sad bit of news that the Dodgers did win and are going to the World Series. So pour one out for baseball.
Yeah. That's a shame. So what NFL team do you think Hojo will jump on the bandwagon of next? Who's gonna?
Well, I don't know.
Kansas?
Nobody's any good, so it's kind of hard to say.
Gotcha. So we gotta just sit and wait to find out who Hojo's gonna be rooting for in November.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Henry Viva says you can't touch a mid-grade crappy for less than $800, possibly closer to $1,000. Yep, that's pretty much it. I have seen coverless versions sell for about $300 to $400, but that was a number of years ago. I haven't seen a coverless one coming along in a while. I went on eBay and some lucky a-hole got a steal and picked up a slab 6.0 for $900. That is a steal. He can flip that for probably double tomorrow. They reprinted it last year, I think, with a foil cover floppy. I'm pretty sure I grabbed it. It's been reprinted a couple of times. The first round of reprints, which I believe was in, either the late 80s or the early 90s for this particular issue when they reprinted it. If you got a high grade of that slab, those go for about $500 to $1,000. It's just retarded. Has anyone Xeroxed it and stapled it together as a trade? Nobody's tried that yet, Snugs. You should probably write DC and see if it's worth it. I only have this in reprint collections. Yeah, as do I. I've seen my fair share. I've been tempted a couple of times, but that's a lot of money for a single book. In this, is that Radar O'Reilly? Indeed. And also a classic Wrightson cover. Yes, we can talk a little bit about that. On my Twitter post over on, I guess my X post over on X promoting the show, Kayla said Louise Simonson. And yes, the girl in this for this cover was modeled after Louise Simonson. So there you go. That shows what a looker she was. But let's see. We got glad to see you made it out of the alley. Oh, Hojo's Hojo's a little upset by that. 100 Bemis says the Dodgers are in the World Series again. As a SoCal boy, I just wanted to rub that in the face for any non-Dodgers fans out there. Yeah, indeed. The only time I am okay with the Dodgers winning is if it makes people in Brooklyn cry. Just want to be on record for that. So House of Secrets, issue 92, July 1971. What was your overall impression of this one, Raiden?
Well, I mean, I kind of gave it away at the beginning, but I very much enjoyed it. It made me laugh. It made me cry. I mean, I was cutting onions, but, it still did the job. No, I enjoyed it.
Gotcha. Well, there's a number of stories here. We've got the first story. I'm going to go through the stories first, and then we'll talk about them. First off, you asked a question about this, and this is a good point. Most people probably don't realize this. If you're not familiar with the House of Secrets series, it's presented by Cain and Abel. And each story kind of has an intro that's done by either Cain or Abel. In this series, in this book, in this issue, each story is introduced by Abel. So this is a fun little intro story called Snipe Hunt. It's just a one-pager written, drawn by Joe Orlando. And Abel's out in the graveyard trying to muster his courage up. And if he catches a snipe, Cain has told him that he'll have his courage. And then, of course, you've got Cain there in the foreground pointing and laughing at poor Abel. But he uses that to kind of frame and introduce the story. And our first story is Swamp Thing, written by Len Wein, art by Bernie Wrightson. This is Swamp Thing's first appearance in comics. That's the first story. The second story, it's on page 9, is After I Die. I could not find any writer credit for this. So if you're out there and you're able to find it, please let me know. The art for this was done by Bill Drought. He did the pencils and the inks. And then the third story is page 17. Nope. Page 16. It's Better to Give. This was written by Mary Screens. Art was Alan Weiss, pencils, and Tony DeZinga on the inks. And the final story, which is just a short little 2-pager, essentially, was Trick or Treat, written by Jerry Conway. The art was Dick Dillon, pencils and inks. And I should go back here, and I do want to talk a little bit before we dive into the story about the Swamp Thing. The art here is done by Bernie Wrightson. However, this is 1971. Wrightson's got quite a few people working with him at this time. They're young, they're up and comers. They're all names that we've talked about before. And allegedly, I don't have any firm confirmation of this, but allegedly, Jeff Jones, Mike Kaluta, and Alan Weiss all co-inked or ghost inked some of the pages on this. Like I said, I was unable to confirm it. I see a little bit of Kaluta at times in this, but Kaluta was also really, really good at mimicking Wrightson's style, especially early in his career.
What's that like? Is that like whispers on the con circuit? Like, how does that?
Just rumors that Kaluta. I'll put it this way: like when I met Michael Golden, Golden talked to me quite a bit about working with Larry Hama, and when he was working with Larry Hama, they were bouncing around of a bunch of ideas, and he said he was shorthand. He helped Larry with some of the GI Joe concept. On early on when they were working together in the early 80s. Not like helped. They were just workshopping it back and forth. He's like, it's still all Larry's stuff, but he was so consumed with it, he just needed to talk to somebody. So while we were working on a couple of projects and I was noodling stuff around, he'd be babbling and I'd be talking back and forth. I think it's like that. Only in this case, Jones and Kaluta especially worked for Wrightson for off and on during this time. And so I think it might have also been that Wrightson had just made it essentially at this time. And he's trying to pull up Kaluta and Jones as well. Weiss is already involved because Weiss has already got art and inks in this issue. So it's just kind of how it works. Guys are trying to pull up their friends, pull up people they work with. Famously Neil Adams had a bunch of guys that worked for him too and did kind of the same thing where Adams would bring him into his studio and then they'd slowly kind of split off and go on their own. And I believe Golden was even one of those. But to hit the thing, let's Swamp Thing act Gamble. There you go. And a lot of 90s comic fans only know Cain and Abel from Sandman. It's funny you mentioned that, Henry Bemis, because that's how I kind of explained Cain and Abel to Raiden, because he wasn't familiar with it. I'm like, yeah, really, they were done the best and kind of rejuvenated in Sandman. And there's some great gags throughout the Sandman with Cain and Abel, especially Cain constantly trying to kill Abel and then Abel returning to life because they're eternal and can never die. Shouldn't they be shit-talking them on YouTube? Oh, no, I believe they handle that all over in the IndieGoGo comments section. But so the first tier issue of Swamp Thing, this is his first appearance. This is not the Swamp Thing that we know, though. This is the first, I don't know, what would you call it? Not a first draft, but kind of just an introduction to the character. There's quite a bit that changes from this story to where we finally go with Swamp Thing. But JP, tell me a little bit about what you liked about the pacing or the structure of the story, if anything.
Well, to your point, there's that famous clip from Family Guy. Well, it's new to me. I mean, this stuff is all new to me. I like stories that mix a bit of tragedy and irony. So a lot of like Phantom of the Opera kind of stuff going on here. I like the setting. I like the double cross, the triple cross. And obviously the art is gorgeous. So a lot to like here. Question mark?
No, I think there is quite a bit to like here, man. It's really fun. I think it's taken a little bit more tongue in cheek at this point than where it eventually ends up, obviously. But the art, again, as you said, is great. Now, word of warning, as we go through this, these are comics.
Can I add one more note in there? You know how you and I have oftentimes, even if tongue-in-cheek, criticized comic book writing for saying, it's like the obvious, like just outright stating what is happening, even though you can see it.
Yes.
In this story, it just feels fun. You know what I mean? Because it feels very fitting. Like an old-timey villain tying a woman to the train tracks and saying, "I'm tying you to the train tracks," like that kind of thing.
Right. Back when we had Pete Samedi on and we were talking to King Cryptid, I said, Pete does a lot of that in King Cryptid. And I said, well, why do you do that? The old adage is show, don't tell. And Pete vehemently disagreed. And he goes, sometimes it's just more fun. I'm paraphrasing. I'm not going to directly quote him, but sometimes it's just more fun. And I like doing it this way where it works. I think it works in King Cryptid. And man, does it really work here. I don't know if it's I think it's more of how it's written.
I think it's the tone.
Yeah, that it's the past tense, like it's a recall, like it's a memory as we're going through it. And even though you're being told it feels like the words are causing the image to kind of coalesce.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
But let's talk a little bit about the art here. This is 1971. These are comics that were meant to be read. We are 20 years before the image revolution, so you are going to see feet, and you are going to see the page accentuate the story, not the art. That's something that we've talked about before, and you're definitely going to see it as we go through this now. Again, very structured panel formatting. We're in grid format. However, we're using the 9-panel grid structure, but we're going to stretch those bottom ones again for context of story. It doesn't take anything away from the art, as you can see there in that final panel. That's just some fantastic, beautiful art with the face work. But everything complements the story moving through. It's not the story. The art is carrying the story. It's not the story. The writing isn't just pushing its way through art that kind of is jumbled. It's very structured, very paced correctly. High compliments to how this was done. But again, it's Bernie Wrightson and Len Wein, so it's going to be good. And
also, like, this is the kind of story, like, it feels very much like something from Romanticism, and you kind of need to have that big beefy dialogue, and that, like, it doesn't feel like you're reading just a wall of text like that one that I sent you earlier. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's kind of, it feels appropriate here.
Well, I think there's almost a little Victorian Edwardian kind of flair to the dialogue. It's kind of, it's like Bram Stoker, right? Dracula doesn't work unless everything is real flowery and heavy in the discourse. It needs to kind of have that formality to have its impact.
Yeah,
here,
it's not a Punisher comic.
What's that?
So it's not a Punisher.
No, it's not a Punisher comic. We're kind of dealing with some weighty concepts here. And this is a great example, again, of that late 60s, early 70s underground kind of style floating in. We're breaking apart. We're doing very fractured panels. We're starting to see that bleed a little bit more into the mainstream. But then we jump back again into that rigid, tight formatting. And again, the story's carrying it. The one thing that I'll have to comment on is, as we go through these pages, you'll notice that there's not much action, but where there is action, it's kind of isolated. You don't see the 2 to 3 panel progression of action that's become so prevalent now. They're successfully telling a story by just giving you mini vignettes. Not quite like Pictofiction, going back 2 years ago, or gosh, back to episode, 2 or 3 of the Gutter. But it's very structured. It's vignette style sequential panels. And it's not done all the time, but it's done here because we're moving the story. We've got a lot of information to cover, and this is an anthology. We've got a couple of stories, so we're on a hard page count. And again, we're doing the same thing here, but again, now we're really playing with perspectives. Think back to Wally Wood's 22 panels that always work. We're really utilizing that here, so we don't get repetitive images. We don't have 3 pages of one guy's face to get the story across. We're utilizing our space, we're utilizing our panels correctly, and we're making them interesting so that you're not bored reading it. Everything is engaging. Now, earlier I said, I think I can tell some pages maybe where Kaluta might have done some inking. I think a really good example of that is panel 4. That looks to me like a Kaluta inked page. It also could just me be trying to find something Kaluta-esque in this page. Panel 5, I think that's Wrightson. Heavy black like that with the heavy shadow, that just seems like him. But with that being said, we're reaching the conclusion of the story. So now we're starting to move forward a little bit. And now we get a little bit more action, but not much. But we get the horrifying reveal. And man, my favorite panel in this entire thing, panel 5. Just so perfect to encapsulate the emotion. He comes back, his wife doesn't recognize him, and it's just devastating to him. and you get the longing in the eyes, but it's that heavy black shadow that carries down, and then he walks away, and tears could come if they would. Just
What I
great
really
ending.
liked about this story is that there is an entire story told in subtext, and you understand it perfectly. You know what I mean? There's a story being told from 3 different perspectives that is beyond what you're being told, and it's it's just very, I can't find the word, discernible. You know what I mean? That's a sign of some good writing.
No, absolutely. I think you can definitely see from this, Lin Wein is on the upswing in his career. Bernie Wrightson is on the upswing of his career. This is just an absolute home run from both of them. And you can see why a series got greenlit for this. You can see why this story would cause people to sit up and go, whoa, that's really good. And what else can you got anything else you can work with on that? And, sadly, volume 1 of Swamp Thing would fade into obscurity, and then they'd bring it back with volume 2. And even that started to lag until they brought over a Brit named Alan Moore. And he rebirthed the entire concept of the book. The nascent form that you see in this very story was then changed a little bit by Moore, and then Swamp Thing became what we think of Swamp Thing now. But Jason Sandberg has joined us while we were going through this first story in House of Secrets issue 92. So welcome, Mr. Sandberg. Always a pleasure. Make sure you go over to IndieGoGo. If Jupiter 2's campaign is ported over yet, they just revamped the whole website, and a lot of campaigns haven't been ported over. But if it is, make sure you sign up for Jupiter 2. And Hojo says, reading comics? Psh, yeah, exactly. No, not reading. I know. It's hard. Art serving the story? No way. I know. It's sad that we have to go back to 1971 to really get a great example. Not that we do, but you know what I mean. What else we got? Everybody saying hi. And Awesome One says, wait, this show has episodes? Indeed. You are watching episode 124 of The Gutter. So welcome. Swamp Thing wasn't the uber powerful Earth elemental in these early stories. No, he was not. In fact, there's a lot of argument as to whether he human or is he just the consciousness at this point, which was not firmly defined until much later. So there's that. I think every Swamp Thing comic should use these eyes. They should, man. I do like the eyes.
I mean, aren't we all, and by all, I mean all of us, including Snuggy, aren't we all really Swamp Thing?
We are all Swampeteers. That is correct. But yeah, great story. Now the second one, not quite as good. What was, what was your take on the second story here?
I mean, it kind of rides that line between being kind of funny, like you know what I mean? Like you just kind of chuckle at it. I do like how the Doctor is a member of the Blue Man Group. That was a nice call out. Yeah,
that's the classic. We couldn't go with gray or whatever, so we used a little bit of blue just to kind of get it done. But it
doesn't make any sense to me because you're putting the character in the background, but he's in the foreground.
Yeah, and Henry Bemis does say the aesthetic of this story is very EC Comics, especially this first page. It does feel like something that's from a previous era for sure, in both content, context, and the ending.
Yeah.
I'm not
now.
Say
why did they have Ted Cruz introduce the story?
That's Zodiac. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
But and I'm not going to say this is a very paint by numbers story. It's not a lead. It's not something you'd ever lead with. It's just kind of fun. And this gentleman's wife dies, and he's got to he promises her he'll take care of her nephew or her younger brother, stepbrother, or no, younger half brother. And he doesn't want to. He's a loaf. And he ends up saying, "Oh, I'm going to kill him." And then he ends up dying. And then you look into it. He forces the kid to look into his eyes, and he goes raving mad as he sees death. Yeah. So that's the story. That's the context of the story.
I love that he has the startling realization of, if I kill somebody, I can watch them die.
Right.
Like it's a very scientific process he's undergoing.
Yes, and so I want to talk a little. No issues. I mean, it's This is classic. It's classic art. This is always good stuff. But it's very structured. Nice. And again, it's got that last panel has very EC50s flavor to it. It's of that era, of that style. They're hitting their bases there for sure. And again, very structured. We get the prim and proper younger half brother that's kind of got a little bit of late 60s, or I would almost say like 60s beatnik look to him.
/ Johnny Quest.
Yeah, indeed. And you did want to talk a little bit about that second panel because his wife has just died.
Yeah.
And Maxwell James got no sleep that night. For hours, he lay awake, wondering about his wife's final moments. His lack of rest was evident the following day in his office. Mr. James, you really shouldn't have come in today. You look so tired. Let's get on with business, Dolores. Who's in the outer office?
Yeah, I was shocked that character ended up being so based.
Just not a care in the world, really, for the dead wife. But we move on, and again, like I said, it's not paint by numbers, but it's damn
Looks
close.
a little Hefner-esque there, doesn't he?
He does. He's got a little bit of a Tarantino chin. But there are no feet in this either. So I mean, it's a very structured story. I did like the art. The art's it's what you'd expect. It's above average. It's just there's nothing really here that's like, man, that was great. It's just it's filler. It's very successful in what it does, but by no means, other than those middle 3 pages or middle 3 panels. I wasn't expecting that turn. It kind of has this lighthearted air, and then it gets really, really dark.
You thought this was lighthearted?
For what it is, yeah, man. I thought it was kind of lighthearted. Like, his wife dies, and he's like, she saw something right before she died. I want to know what that is. And then, he goes and tries to kill the younger half brother. And then as he's dying, he's like, look me in the eyes. And then the kid goes insane. And man, the color work is brilliant. I love, if you look at between panels 3 and 4, his shoulder extends over into panel 5 or into panel 4. And that's the background for panel 4, is that it's his torso as he leans over, and the hand kind of wrapping around the gutter line, but the gutter's blocking it. Like, just really, like, wow. Like, where was that in the rest of the story? And then we get the ending. He goes insane, and then we, of course, get Abel reading us out into the next story. But before we move on, did you have anything else you wanted to talk about After I Die?
No, I think we goofed on it enough.
No, it was fun. Don't get me wrong. It was fun.
I actually thought it was the better of the other 3.
Really? I kind of liked It's Better to Give, which we're going to get into in a second. But first, we do have to talk about some of the fantastic ads that are in this. The first one, I posted this one earlier this week. The Weird World of Aura. Put together your own scary scenes with Aura's fantastic monster scenes custom builder kits. Now, there's one line in this that is absolutely fantastic. And it's as they kidnap somebody to go cut her up and make a monster out of her. Vampirella says, don't worry, this is New York. No one will help her. Proving that since 1971, nothing's changed in New York.
I know. That's how you know that they're on the subway.
Oh, very impressive. What do we got? Hey guys, the bum is muttering man thing again. Yeah, I see that. Snugs is saying something about something. It's okay.
What's like really? What is the story there? And I know you told me the story of the what is it? The online kayfabe that you have.
Yeah, it's just.
But I
mean,
mean,
Snugs
but I mean, between Swamp Thing and Man Thing, what is that? What's that about?
What do you mean? What's it about? I mean, they're
like, is one derivative of the other? Is one considered to be a knockoff? Like, is there a genuine rivalry?
I mean, I think they're both knockoffs of the Golden Age character that's in the public domain of the Heap. They're essentially within that vein. But each one took a different tact, and they're, again, man, everything sources back. We talked a little bit about Gladiator, right? And from Gladiator, you get to Superman. But Superman is also part Doc Savage. Batman is part Zorro. He's part the Shadow. He's a little bit of Tarzan too, and we've gone over that because Bob Kane, the human Xerox machine, copied from everybody, including negating Bill Finger's credit. God bless DC for finally admitting that Bill Finger was the co-creator of Batman. But everything sources from something. It's just how original you devolve since then. If you look at modern Batman, there's very little in a modern Batman book that you could really call back to the Shadow, because we've had 80 years of Batman that built that mythos beyond where that nascent creation stemmed from. Kind of the same thing with Swamp Thing and Man Thing. Originally, yeah, back around the early 70s, you could say that they're just ripoffs of the Heap and they're copies of each other. At this point, they're separate entities. They're different styles. They've got different backstories. Similar, but different enough that they're creatively separate. Snugs, of course, says Man Thing is better and that Man Thing was first. And who needs Swamp Thing when you've got giant-sized Man Thing, says Henry Bemis. So there you go. But we've got a couple more ads we're going to go through. Of course, one of my favorite is the baseball. This best baseball game cannot be purchased in a retail store. This is the Stratomatic baseball. So before, all you kids out there, before the internet, Stratomatic would take all the stats from the previous season, and then you'd play a game, a baseball game, a football game, a hockey game, grabbing your team and using players in certain positions and ways, and based off their stats from the previous year, you would pick a play, and then your opponent would pick a defense or a pitch for baseball, and then you'd play the cards, and based off their stats, statistically, you'd consult a chart, and you could play a fantasy game of a sport.
That is the worst thing I have ever heard of in my life.
Oh my God, they were so much fun, man. It's
we did when I was that age, we would go out and play baseball.
Well, no, this is like for a rainy day, man, when you're not outside playing baseball. This is pre-video game. You're sitting at the table and you put that same puzzle together and play Trivial Pursuit. You get out Stratomatic and play a baseball game. It was a lot of fun. I guess I'm alone in this. There's got to be somebody else that, Citizen Ronin's with me. Stratomatic was popular. Exactly, man. It was a good time.
I mean, Jello molds were popular.
Snugs is dropping links to Twitter, I guess. We also have this one. You can get their special offer. Make your own binoculars for $2.50. It magnifies 3 times, JP. Center focusing. It's got a carrying case, unbreakable lenses, lens covers, snap together, no gluing.
That's okay. Yeah. What are you doing with that?
Or for the first time ever, you can get a handsome reproduction of the first Action Comics right on a top quality t-shirt.
I would be willing to bet you could find that t-shirt at like Target today.
Probably. But have you ever wished you could have your own jumbo jet, JP?
Oh, who hasn't? Wait, who's to say I don't?
You could fly your own jumbo jet. You could pretend you are John Travolta in the seat of your American Airlines 747 jumbo jet. It actually flies for only $2.95.
Well, anything flies if you throw it. My cat flies.
That's true. That's true. And just remember, every plane that's ever gone up has always come down.
What about the Challenger?
Oh, it came down. Not in one piece, but it came down. We've also got Raleigh's Got It Either Way You Go. Raleigh's Got It Either Way You Go. You can get the Raleigh. Look at that bike, man.
Which one?
Both
Which one are you choosing?
Man, that's hard.
I'm taking the top
cool
one.
Cool about either one of these.
No, but I'm taking the top one because the bottom one looks like I'd kick the shit out of that guy.
That the bottom one's like the early form of the cyclist before they have metamorphized into the kamikaze pilots that they are now. But without further ado, let's get back to the book. Where did we leave off? We were going to go with the next story, which is It's Better to Give. It's Better to Give. This was written by Mary Screens, art again by Alan Weiss, the pencils. Tony DeZinga did the inks. And DeZinga. So there you go. There's the intro. It's Better to Give.
Yeah, I'd like to retroactively say I did like this one more than the one before it.
Yeah, this one's fun. It's a bum. He's a drunk. He's lounging around in a junkyard, and a kid comes up and he's crying because he bought a balloon and it popped. So the bum gives him his last dime. And the kid runs off to get a balloon, and he turns around and there's a faucet that's just spilling out dimes. So he collects all the dimes and he's got a ton of money. Now the art on this, again,
It's great.
Alan Weiss did the pencils. Tony DeZinga does the inks. The faces on this is magnificent work. Just fantastic. There's not a whole lot in the layouts that's really like groundbreaking, or he's not really playing much with it. It's just really well structured sequential storytelling and fantastic art on the faces. We do get a little bit here where we're not going to use a background and we're kind of playing with the gutter a little bit in panel 5, and those dimes falling, fantastic. I mean, so he's got all these dimes and he starts living large, right? He's got a bathtub full of dimes. He loads them in his hat. It's just fun. Like, fun radiates off of these pages. It's fun. He goes and he gets some new digs. Poor choices on digs, personally. I wasn't aware that in the early 70s Edwardian was kind of coming back, but...
Well, I mean, everybody. I mean, look at the woman from, what is that, the Salvation Army? Which, by the way, he's still trying to do good. I don't know why he's marching toward the Black Panthers, but...
I didn't notice that. Yeah, we've got a little Black Panther.
Sorry for ruining your Black Panther party.
But yeah, one of his old friends sees him, that now he's got wealth, and jumps him and beats him.
Great lettering.
Man, that action in panel 3, fantastic, with whap. Then of course the kid's there with his new balloon and sees his friend die, and the guy's bullying the kid, and then we get the horror of the guy gets like sucked into the balloon, and the kid pulls out a needle and pop.
Yeah, you know, I
really
think the
dark
only thing
twist.
I don't like about this is a baby warlock. I would just rather let this be what it is, as is.
What do you mean?
I don't like being told it's a baby warlock.
Gotcha. You just leave it as what the hell was the kid?
Yeah, that's so much better. Almost always better not knowing.
No, I think you're probably right. But man, again, you know, we talk about page structuring a lot here. The way they're stacking those first 4 panels up top, it's fantastic. The only thing I wish is that between panels 2 and 3, the balloon lined up a little bit better, so it would kind of carry over like the shoulder did in the previous story in those panels. But again, similar use of red to get that extenuation of the terror. Is here's our turn, and we're not even trying to be subtle about where the turn is. Here's the turn. Really, really well done. Lot of fun. Again, like kind of a basic story, but took a great turn. Just what you want to see. And then the final story, Trick or Treat, written by Jerry Conway, art by the pretty stalwart Dick Dillon, pencils and inks here as well. Just a little 2-pager to close it out. But Trick or Treat, guy steals some mystical paints and some easel, goes ahead and paints it. His life's going to change. And in that final panel, you already see that the creature's kind of being pulled away from the canvas. Then as we turn, we get this great splash to end the story with the zombies completely out of the painting, and his life's going to change because he's going to be murdered.
You don't know
That's
that.
where the book ends.
That could just be Joey Ramone coming out of the painting.
That is one hell of a nose, man. But beautifully drawn. Like the extenuated features really work. I like it. But yeah, and then the last thing we had was your standard ads. Now, if you remember back to last year, we had Neff and Frequency Girl on, and we talked about Hyde Street. And one of the things we talked about with Hyde Street was the ode to all of the great old ads, the classic comic book ads. Well, here is a page full of them. You've got your tall Frankenstein monster. You've got your Stretch Armstrong. You've got your Gold's Gym, how to get strong. Everything you want is right here. This is every little reference from Hyde Street is available on this one page, because these were in every comic. It fits, and it was perfect to bring up and to tie into last year's episode. But you really enjoyed these, JP.
Oh yeah, I think I might actually have that 8mm projector. I mean, the wife does.
Yes. Citizen Ronan says, dibs on the X-ray specs. And no, says Henry Bemis. And I checked out your mom with those ones, Citizen Ronan. There you go.
I
For those
wonder
of you,
which of those were kind of a ripoff and which ones were just a complete ripoff.
I think they were all pretty much kind of a ripoff.
Like, do you think the 8mm projector just doesn't work?
I mean, it's an 8mm projector, but how good a quality? Like, how many of those 8mm projectors are still working today?
Wait, so are you telling me that putting on a black belt doesn't make me a black belt?
No, you're still a black belt because you have a
okay.
black belt.
Oh,
You just
okay.
don't know anything. So when challenged, you're going to look like a fool. You're going to look like Daniel LaRusso looked there on the beach when somebody stole his soccer ball. Johnny's
Oh,
going to kick the shit out of you.
not again.
Not again. Indeed. But yeah, overall, man, I thought this was a fun issue. It's always a good time to see where a creator starts with something, and this one's unique because it's published, and so you get to see what Swamp Thing originally was before it went through its first iteration of having its own book. So that was cool. And I don't know, what were your final thoughts on this one, JP?
Well, I mean, I think it's a definite recommend, and to those out there in the listening audience, I think you should go out, you should spend the money on it, and like Aldous is always saying, you always hear him talk about this. Make sure you're getting it slabbed.
Oh, you're evil, man. Comics should not be slabbed. It's so evil.
But here's what's funny to me though: you preserve your older comics.
Yes, yeah, I bag and board them, but I don't slab any of them. My first appearance of Wolverine is not slabbed.
No, but don't you have? I've heard you mention something. You don't keep them in under glass or anything, or is that just art?
No, just art. Anything I have framed is under museum glass, and you should always put any art you have under museum glass, or have it in a room that's using incandescent light. Even if you're using incandescent bulbs, there's still some UV degradation, but you should certainly not be using LEDs in a room, or have sunlight hit anything that's not under museum glass.
And is bagged and board as protective as a slab is?
Well, it depends. There's arguments over that. No, would be my opinion. Because when you bag and board something, you have to continually change out the boards. Boards last anywhere from 3 to 5 years, and you have to change them out. Bags do degrade over time as well, so you should be rebagging your stuff. Of course, the hazard with bagging and boarding is in the process of moving stuff around, you have the risk of damaging books. So that's why, like, if you go back and watch last March when I did the pulp episode, when you weren't able to join me, the day actually I hurt my hand, I'm wearing cotton gloves as I touch a lot of those books. Occasionally you'll see a couple other times where I'm pulling books out and I'm looking at stuff. If it's any aged, even the oil on your fingers can cause damage to the book over time.
I'm always eating ribs when I'm reading comics.
No, just the oils on your natural hand. It doesn't matter if you've washed your hands beforehand or not. So you want to make sure you get a pair of, and they're cheap. You can get like a dozen cotton gloves for, next to nothing on Amazon, and just wear them once as you're bagging and boarding, and then take them off, throw them away, and use a different pair the next time. But obviously not for every comic. My run of G.I. Joe Special Mission, when I rebag and board that, I don't take the same amount of care that I do when I'm rebagging and boarding my 1930s, 40s shadow pulps that are, extraordinarily brittle. Snugs uses grocery bags, which I highly recommend. Jesus. Henry Bemis likes to demolish some carne asada nachos as I bag and board my Golden Age collection. My heart sinks, man. Oh, man. But next week, we will be looking at the Jeff Lemire and Dave Stewart tenement story from the Bone Orchard mythos. So there's that'll be interesting to see what we think of it. You had anything else to add before we close this bitch down?
No, I mean, just the link to Eudaimonia 3 is in the comments. It is currently at the printer. I have the proof in. I got some photos of the printing in process, and so it will be shipping soon. So grab a copy if you haven't.
Awesome. And while it is not, there is not a link in the description. You can go and to your local Barnes and Noble or your local bookstore and order a copy of JP's New Harlem 2. Listen as well. Make sure you do that, and hurry up and do that, because the last episode next month is November. Last year we kicked off November as our first Noir-vember. We'll be doing that again this year. So pumpkin spice season is immediately followed by Noir-vember, where in the last week of November, we will be looking at JP's New Harlem 2 Listen. So make sure you get a copy before that so you can read along with us and share your input from the chat. As always, I will be dropping the link for the back room in the chat if you'd care to join us after the show. We always love to hear your thoughts, suggestions. If you want to get in touch with us, you can obviously, any recommendations for the show, books you'd like us to cover or take a look at, or just any negative comments you had. Don't send us positive, please, only negative. Obviously, you can DM JP or myself over on Twitter or X. We also have the Patreon. You don't have to join. You can just like the Patreon, and then you can comment. I've opened up all the comments on that. So let everyone know November for the Swamp of Tears. Thanks, Snugs. Thanks. Always appreciate your support. But with that being said, from us to you, have a great night. We will see you next Wednesday on the show. Take it easy.
This is blood for blood and by the gallons. This is the old days, man, the bad days, the all or nothing days. They're back. There's no choices left.
You're still here? It's over. Go home.